See that and tracked me down to college. I was going to Walla Walla College in College Station, Washington, studying electrical engineering. And people would track me down, wanting me to go to their kindergartens and daycares and nursing homes. And when it hit the front page of the local newspaper that we were making these appearances, I had so many people calling me, it kind of got out of control. That's how I became a pirate instead of an electrical engineer. Anyway, people would always ask me, doesn't it hurt that bird clamped on your shoulder like that? Actually did not hurt at all, because Jeremy did not use her claws to stay on my shoulder. She has a great sense of balance. Yeah. She'd simply step forward to my shoulder, leaning into the wind. We could cruise around town 30, 40, sometimes 50 miles an hour together, and did so for many years without any trouble. They have a wonderful sense of balance.
There's a biker that does
I had to teach Jeremy to ride on my shoulder like that, right? So don't go home tonight, put your bird on your shoulder thinking you're going to go cruising around town on a motorcycle. There was a training process involved in that. All right. And no, I don't have Jeremy anymore. Jeremy went with my ex-wife, so it happens to pirates too. Yeah, marriage is grand. Divorce, 100 grand. Making her walk the plank, that'd have been priceless. Actually, ours wasn't too bad. We didn't have any kids involved. There are advantages to having parents instead of children. There are no college funds to save for. You can lock them in a cage, it's legal. You can sell their kids, this is a plus. Alright, out of the 350 or so different species of parrots that we have in the world right now, about a third of them are considered endangered species. Most of the rest are considered threatened species. Anyway, I told you we had two species of parrot native to the United States. We had the Carolina parrot, which was all over the east side of the United States, from Colorado to New York to Miami. By the 1920s, they were extinct. Then we had the thick-billed parrot, used to live in Arizona and New Mexico. We've now found records of them going as far west as West Texas and as far north as Provo, Utah. Used to be seen in flocks of 500 to 1,500 at a time. But their locals would also shoot them whenever they saw them, so they shoot 25 to 100 of them at a time. How many times do you have to do that before you don't have a flock of 500, right? It doesn't take them long. By the 1940s, they were gone. Out of the U.S. anyway. There's currently about 2,000 of them left in Mexico. Their numbers are declining. Their numbers are also declining in captivity. U.S. zoos in 2000, the year 2000, had 200 thick bills. In 2012, they were down to 83. And their numbers are steadily declining. In captivity, in private ownership, there's roughly maybe 40 or so, not very many. I've actually owned 6 of them. Just to let you know how serious I am about thick bills, right? They're not easy to come up with. Anyway, in the 1980s, they tried to put thick-billed parrots back into Arizona. U.S. Fish and Wildlife confiscated about 40 birds from private owners, turned them loose in the Chiricahua Mountains south of Tucson, and within a few weeks, several of them had been eaten by hawks. And so they concluded from this that birds raised in captivity were not suited for reintroduction projects because they had poor flocking skills and poor predator evasion skills. And therefore, since then, very few captive raised birds have been used for reintroduction projects. All right, well, this is a serious problem for me because I've been free-flying parrots for 20 years, and I know that the issue is not that they're raised in captivity. The issue is how they're raised in captivity. Okay, you see my guys flying around out here? They look like they have flocking problems? No. I actually watched my birds outfly peregrine falcons. I've watched them being harassed by, I've watched them harass golden eagles.
Yeah.
If they're raised properly, they can have fantastic predator evasion and flocking skills. All right, so in 2010, I set up a nonprofit organization called Bird Recovery International, and our goal is to improve the science of putting birds back into the wild. A recent publication scientific publication was released that says that biologists have a 70% success rate putting birds back in the wild. Basically, they suck at it. So, any improvement is going to be a help. Anyway, I'm working with Texas A&M on this, and we've got Donald Brightfoot, the top avian biologist in the world, working on this with me, and we're working on helping use the concepts that I use for training my birds out here to prepare birds for putting them back in the wild. And as soon as we anyway, let's do some questions. We have some projects in the pipeline. We just have to generate enough money to be able to afford to do them. That's what we're working on by being out here doing this stuff. All right. Questions. Anybody ever have questions? What is your question?
I would go with the
question itself is a question. Microphone amnesia strikes again. A little pink bird. That is a Major Mitchell cockatoo from Australia. In Australia, you can buy a pair of them for about $500. Here they're about $5 grand a piece. come up with out here. There's people breeding.
What's with the red bird up in the tree?
What's with the red bird up in the tree? Well, this is also Thor. His name is Thor. He's a scarlet macaw. He's about a year old. And this is also his 7th day, supposedly being a professional bird at a bird show.
Wait, where?
I've been working with these 3, actually these 4, the scarlet in the cage also, for several months now, getting ready for fair season. And the bird in the cage is his sibling, and he was actually my best flyer. And one day I went out there to the aviary, and he had allowed one of the other birds to always fly feathers off. He had 9 feathers missing on both sides. He could not fly at all. And so
I don't see it.
He's got about this much to go on the outer 3 feathers, and he's got all his feathers back. So he'll, as soon as we finish here in a month or so, I'll be back to work working on him. Anyway, his sibling Thor up here was, I thought, going to be my star this year. He was doing great. And then shortly before fair season, 3 or 4 weeks before fair season, he started taking a fascination with trees. Now I got to work through that. You know, I run a daycare for parrots, right? You don't know what you're going to wind up with. It's like saying, oh, we've had a child. We're now going to have a doctor in the family. Yeah, maybe. He might decide he wants to work at Kingos for the rest of his life. I mean, who knows? You never know what's going to come out of it. All right, other questions. He'll come down when he's ready. I'm not worried about him. In 25 years of flying parrots and shows like this, I have lost one that did not come back out doing shows like this, so I'm not too worried about it.
Are we allowed to hold the parrots?
Yes, you're going to get to hold some here in just a moment. All right, what is your question?
How long did it take for you to train all these?
Well, that's a really good question, okay? It's kind of like asking how long does it take to train kids. Depends on what you're trying to teach them to do, right? You want to teach a child to ride a bicycle? That doesn't take very long, right? You want to teach them to have good manners? Some people never get that one right. That's the same way with these guys. You know, Thor, he may grow past this. I'm going to work on it, and then he may not. You know, we'll see. It depends. To teach the birds to do the dollar bill trick, that took me 2 days to teach them the basic trick. Now it's going to take me another week or so to get them doing it out here in the public. And by the end of the summer, all you'll have to do in the back of the audience is reach out and grab your wallet, and they'll be on you. Boom. Proper pirate birds. What's your question?
How long did it take to make the bird fly all the way around and come back to you?
To teach him to do that specific trick, the first thing I had to do is teach him to be a good flyer, a good reliable flyer, right? Because that's the first thing. And that took me several months. But when we got him here, all I had to do was fly him a couple times, and he worked out a path. First thing he had to do is figure out, you know, how am I going to do this? With the wind direction and all this stuff around here, he had to figure out a path that he could follow. Once he got that, boy, it was done. It took me maybe an hour. He figured it out real quick.
Awesome.
All right, what is your question over here?
What type of birds do you have?
They're parrots, right?
What?
All right, we have military macaw, scarlet macaw, sulfur-crested cockatoo, mealy Amazon up there from Central America. When I was in Honduras a couple of winters ago, working on setting up a scarlet macaw project, breeding release project. We have mealy Amazons. We also have the double yellowhead.
Where?
Zena that was talking. All right, what else we got? We got blue.
I don't
macaw,
see him.
Blue throat macaw, African gray, major ritual, Milwaukee cockatoo, the bird in this cage. He's there because I picked him up on the way out here from Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, he's on the edge.
I just
drove
don't
out here, I
understand.
stopped and picked him up. He's a very nice bird. He can fly, but he's not yet trained to fly,
Like a
so that's why he's in the cage up there. And then the baby sun conures are the siblings, the brothers and sisters of the birds flying around out here. Right? They're the next flush. So they'll be flying out here real soon. They're ready to start flying, but I can't teach them here. It's the wrong spot.